So first of all, good evening to all of you, and welcome especially to those of you who are here for the first time. Our schedule this evening is from now until around 8:30, but we will have a break in between. And the first half will be concerned with some brief instruction and some meditation practice. And then following the break, we'll come back and have an open discussion on whatever you are interested in within the context of Buddhist meditation practice, or so far it has been safe to say, or anything else. We'll see. In all of the myriad of Buddhist traditions and practices, there are a great many approaches to the practice of meditation. And in this particular tradition that we are part of, with some intention, we hold all of those various traditions as equally valuable. All of them holding the potential for complete awakening as it is described in this tradition, which can be summarized as the discovery and recognition of the nature of mind itself, which we hold to be true of all sentient beings, that we are endowed with that awakening mind, and the fundamental distinction between the great majority of us who are confused fundamentally are still at the core awakened. So the distinction between the confused ones and the awakened ones is not something essential or fundamental. All of the great traditions engage in essence, the value, they hold as valuable the awakening of that essential nature. And so as we begin our practice, what nearly all of the traditions do is we first acknowledge that fundamental essence that each of us is endowed with, that awakened mind. And so we start each of our practices with you might call it a ceremony or a celebration, though it's quite short. We turn our minds from all of our worldly concerns our material concerns, our concerns for our health, our concerns for our sanity in a world which sometimes seems short on that particular commodity. We turn our minds to refuge in that awakened mind which we call the Buddha. It was very simple. And there is a short recitation that we do 3 times. And during that recitation, we're meant to acknowledge these key points. And during the recitation, as we acknowledge key points, it is especially possible that we might recognize that nature of mind. Every meditation practice, every recitation, every moment that we engage in any practice which is worthy of the tradition, we might at any moment, at any time, recognize that nature of mind. So as we recite it, to hold that possibility, even, if you will, that probability in our minds can be extraordinarily helpful. So we'll begin by reciting this liturgy together 3 times. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. When we engage in a meditation practice, and we could call what we just did a short meditation practice. So when we engage in one of these and it comes to an end, there could be a natural settling of the mind just at that point, kind of like finishing a thought and remaining still before we begin another one. And then before the mind becomes disturbed once again with all the concerns that we have in this world and in our own individual lives, before that tide comes in, we remind ourselves of the bodhicitta practice, which is part of the recitation that we just did, but the recitation is not critical. We can remind ourselves of our core intention as practitioners in this tradition. We will give rise as continuously as possible the wish that we would visit our ability to engage in loving kindness and compassion for all sentient beings, experiencing and expressing joy for all of the positive, helpful things that all beings engage in, and we hold tightly to the wish that there not to be a single sentient being left when we are done, not a single left with their angst and whatever pain they might experience, their confusion, and all the things that they might do to exacerbate the confusion. We hold the wish that they would be free of all of those things. And as we did in the prayer in the beginning, make the wish that all of them might attain complete freedom from all the various kinds of suffering that we naturally experience. And we imagine that it is done. And again, we just let go of that meditation, of that wish even, of all things, and just relax a bit and soak in our aspiration. And as the mind settles, we might encounter the meditation, any of a number of meditations that we might wish to engage in or find ourselves engaging in even spontaneously. So we might come to the place of the mind settling naturally undisturbed. And we call that meditation Shine, or calm abiding. If you have never done Shine before, then you could begin, maybe should begin, with the understanding that it is so simple that it will be difficult to acknowledge the extraordinary benefit that comes from it. Any time that we are inclined or able or just spontaneously do it, letting go of all of our extraneous thoughts, mental phenomena of all kind, and just allowing the mind to settle. It's an extraordinary moment. Over time, if you engage in that practice over and over, you will discover that it is rare for anyone to engage in that practice, even for a few moments. One might think that in a world which is so full of turmoil, resting the mind undisturbed for even just a few moments would be what everyone wants to do. But quite the opposite is true. So when we settle, just naturally resting the body and letting go of all of our concerns, even if we only do it for 10 seconds, it might be that it's more helpful than almost anything else that we might do in this life. So we can take a few minutes and practice this meditation called Shine, calm abiding. First, begin by placing your awareness on the movement of your breath. While there are many variations, one of them is to just rest your awareness on the movement of your breath without any effort, to modify its natural rhythm, without any effort even to remain single-pointed on that breath, without any thought of how precious that breath is, since without it we cannot live. Of all the things that we could think about, the function of Shine is to put aside all of them and just rest the mind on the coming and going of the breath. So let's try that for a few minutes, and when you're distracted and you come to recognize that you're distracted, bring your mind back to the meditation, letting go of all the other things that you might be thinking about. Being able to do that is a profound skill. A skill that will benefit not only yourselves, but every person that you come in contact with. So the practice of Shine can be a profound gift to oneself and everyone you come in contact with. Now, as you are engaging in this practice, you will probably notice that from time to time you're distracted. The distraction is not part of the meditation. If you're thinking about things you did earlier today or plan to do tomorrow, this is what we call a distraction. In the context of your meditation practice, we want to either eliminate those distractions or find a way to make some positive use of them. In the first case, if you recognize that you've been distracted, which is generally speaking fairly easy to do, the helpful, appropriate response is to just bring the mind back to the meditation without any further ado, without any further conversation about it. Just place the mind back on the breath and continue. So let's take a couple of minutes and do that one. Now, perhaps you at least recognize how that works. Mind is busy and you become distracted. You forget you're making an effort to engage in the practice of calm abiding. In that moment when you recognize that you've been distracted, then you bring the mind back. You place the mind on your meditation and continue. But there are also other things that you can engage in which can be very helpful. Something worth trying. And one of them is based upon what may seem obvious, but upon close examination is actually quite profound. And that is our ability as human beings to recognize our own experience. And not only to recognize an experience as an experience, but to be able to follow the experience as it unfolds, as if you were a passive observer of yourself. So in this case, during the meditation, you intentionally bring your awareness to an experience which is unfolding, whatever it is. You intentionally place your awareness upon that experience. When you do that, it's especially important to make no effort whatsoever to alter the experience. So it may alter on its own, but it's important that you not alter it intentionally. And in that way, you just place your awareness on the experience as it's unfolding. For a couple of minutes. After you've done this for a while, then as before, with intention, allow your mind to settle free of it, of distractions, and in that way finish your meditation. dedicate the virtue of our practice. By this, oh sorry, go ahead. Quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state. So now I'm going to take a little break, maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and have our open discussion. Okay.
Few announcements. Let's see, December 1st will be Friday. That's the young adults group. That's this next Friday. So if you have questions about that, Emily, do you go to that? Just raise your hand so people could talk to you at break. Great, thanks. And then December 2nd, which must be a Saturday at 11 a.m., there will be an open meeting from 11 to 12:30 for anyone interested in helping with, learning about the children's program. Mary Woods and I will facilitate, so please come. We're hoping to start the children's program in January with both a age 5 to 10 group and then care for toddlers. So if you are at all interested, you don't have to be a parent. You can come meet with us and let us know how you want to participate. Then December 8th and 9th, I will lead a non-residential Tonglen retreat here. That's a Friday, Saturday. It's online. You can register. If you have questions about that, see me. What else? You take it from there.
Bodhisattva celebration on which day? The 16th at 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Time for celebration, telling stories, and whatever the kids have up their sleeve this year, I don't know. And the annual New Year's retreat, which is New Year's Eve day and also the day of New Year's. You'll do refuge at 4 o'clock, I assume, Michael?
Yeah.
All right. Every once in a while I assume something and it's correct. Then as a piece of information, some of us are going to be heading off to India. It's already seeming like it's getting very, very close. January 6th to the 20th is when Dora and I will be gone, but quite 4th, okay, 4th, even sooner. So that will be for, I won't miss the plane. And that will be for the Mahamudra seminar with Kemper Rinpoche.
And this morning, Phil Wallin shared with, he's our development chair, and he shared with us that our over-the-top campaign, the fundraising campaign to generate funds for finishing the remodeling of this building is going well and can still use more input. We had the $50,000 match, and it sounded like it was about $22,000 matched already. And so we're still looking for more to help complete that. And that includes, if people want to become, start a new sustaining like monthly membership or increase their existing membership, those funds will also go towards the match. So many ways to participate.
And I had just one announcement. Diane Lucas asked me to put a word in for the bookstore that there are a lot of items in there that aren't necessarily Buddhist that you might like to purchase for Christmas presents. So to please think about the bookstore for the coming season. There's a lot of good books, Buddhist books there too.
You're free.